Dinner at my parents' house used to feel predictable in a comforting way. Same long table, same arguments about politics that never went anywhere, same plates that had been in the family longer than most of our grudges. That night should have been one of those dinners. I remember twisting my wedding ring once before we sat down, a small habit I'd picked up without noticing. The band had just been resized the week before. It felt slightly different on my finger, lighter somehow, though maybe that was only in my head. My sister-in-law noticed it almost immediately. She had a way of scanning people when they walked in, the way someone studies a room for something interesting to say. Her eyes dropped to my hand while I reached for a glass. She paused. "That ring," she said slowly. At first I thought she was complimenting it, but she leaned closer instead, her brow tightening as if she had just remembered something unpleasant. "That's my ring." People laughed softly, the way families do when someone says something strange but harmless. I smiled too, assuming she was joking, but she didn't smile back. "I'm serious," she said. "That looks exactly like the ring I lost a few years ago." The table quieted, though no one admitted it out loud. I turned my hand over, suddenly aware of every eye in the room. The ring was simple, a narrow gold band, a small oval diamond, nothing flashy. My husband had given it to me 2 years earlier. "It's not the same one," I said carefully. "He bought it when we got engaged." She tilted her head, studying it again. "Where did he buy it?" My husband cleared his throat before answering. "From a jeweler in the city. New." He hesitated a second too long. "Second hand," he said finally. Something in the room shifted. Not dramatically, just enough that people started leaning into the conversation instead of away from it. My brother looked at the ring with mild curiosity. "Well," he said slowly, "if it was second-hand." She nodded immediately, like someone whose memory had just been confirmed. "That's exactly what I'm saying. Mine disappeared when we moved apartments. I always thought someone took it. No one accused me directly. No one needed to." The possibility was enough. I felt heat rising behind my ears. The ring suddenly felt heavier on my hand, as if it had been transformed into evidence. "I don't think that's possible," I said quietly. My sister-in-law kept her tone calm, almost patient. "Look at the shape of the diamond. And the band is slightly flattened on one side." She pointed gently. Mine had the same thing. People leaned closer. Someone murmured, "It does look similar." My mother frowned at the tablecloth instead of at anyone's face. "Well," she said eventually, "maybe it's just one of those situations where things got mixed up somewhere." No one wanted conflict, but they also didn't want to defend me strongly enough to create one. The easiest solution slowly formed in the air between us. My brother said it first. "Maybe you could just give it back for now, until you check with the jeweler or something." The words landed softly but firmly. For a moment I waited for my husband to speak. He didn't. His silence was worse than the accusation. The room held that quiet expectation that families create when they've already decided what the reasonable person should do. I looked at my hand. It was strange how quickly something meaningful can start to feel like a problem you're responsible for fixing. Without saying anything else, I slid the ring off my finger. The skin beneath it was pale. I placed the ring in the center of the table and pushed it toward her. No one celebrated. No one thanked me. The conversation drifted awkwardly into other topics, as if we had just cleared an uncomfortable object off the table, but my finger felt cold the rest of the evening. Halfway through dinner, my phone vibrated in my pocket. For a second, I considered ignoring it. Then I remembered. The jeweler. I had dropped the ring off the previous week for resizing, and they had mentioned something about documentation for the custom setting. I'd almost forgotten they were supposed to call. I stepped into the hallway to answer. The jeweler spoke in the calm, efficient tone of someone reading from a record. "Yes, we completed the resizing. Also, as discussed, the ring is registered under the original custom order placed 2 years ago. There's a serial engraving inside the band, along with our workshop mark and the date." I leaned against the wall. "Could you confirm that if someone asking?" "Of course," he said. "It's in our records." When I walked back into the dining room, the mood had relaxed slightly. My sister-in-law had already slipped the ring onto her own finger. She held her glass a little higher than before, the diamond catching the light. I stood beside the table. "The jeweler just called," I said. No one reacted at first. "It's a custom ring," I continued. "Made 2 years ago. There's a serial engraving inside the band that matches their records." My brother frowned. "What engraving?" "The one inside the band." Someone asked to see the ring. My sister-in-law hesitated only briefly before sliding it off and passing it across the table. Under the overhead light, the tiny letters inside the band became visible. A workshop mark. A date. My mother squinted. "That's small." I took out my phone. "Would you like to ask the jeweler directly?" The call took less than a minute. When the jeweler confirmed the order details over speakerphone, the room went completely quiet. Not shocked, just emptied. My sister-in-law's face lost its color slowly, the way people do when they realize the ground beneath a confident story has disappeared. No one looked at me. No one looked at her either. They looked at the table. Eventually, the ring was placed in front of me again. I picked it up and slid it back onto my finger. My husband said something then, an apology, maybe, but it sounded unfinished even to him. Dinner ended early. People cleared plates without meeting each other's eyes. On the drive home, I kept my hands folded in my lap. The ring felt familiar again. But something else didn't. It wasn't the accusation that stayed with me. It was how easily the room had agreed that the problem must belong to me. Truth had come from somewhere outside the family, spoken by someone none of them could argue with. But the silence afterward told me something quieter. Some things, once revealed at a dinner table, don't go back to normal, not even when the ring does.